Hey everyone, this is the Critical G here. I know it's been quite a while since I last posted a video, and unfortunately I can't say that I'll be posting too many more in the foreseeable future, but I'll do my best to get a video out every now and then. I've been thinking a lot about talking about politics, and obviously if you follow my channel you know that I'm quite keen on arguing about politics and whatnot. But I'd like to share with you a little story and put a few ideas out there for something that you should consider in your personal lives, because politics is the realm of ideas for the most part, and the realm of things that we personally can't change at all. So let me just jump into the little story and share my thoughts with you. So a little while ago, last weekend, I went to a party, a very nice house party, and I started chatting with a girl. I've been working on French. I've been teaching myself some French, and I was told that she is a French speaker. So we got chatting, and it turns out she's a French speaker because she's from Lebanon. She's a Muslim, and or her father's a Muslim, so I guess she's Muslim. And we got talking, and told her that I grew up in Israel, and so she got very interested and wanted to ask me about life in Israel, which was great. We talked a bit more, and then she started to ask me about politics and what I think about the Palestinians and all that sort of stuff. And this is where you have to exercise great caution, because it's a very fiery topic. If let's say you're from a country like, I don't know, Venezuela, people have heard of it, but they don't really know much about it. They don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Then, if someone says, "Oh, tell me about Venezuela. What do you think about, the president there, or so and so? What do you think about the soccer or anything like that?" People won't have a very strong reaction. If you say you're from Brazil, people might have a few conceptions about Brazilian women being sexy and Brazilian football players being very good. But generally speaking, again, they won't have very strong opinions. But everyone has a very strong opinion about Israel and about the Palestinians. Even people who have no connection to it, even people who know nothing about it, actually, very often, especially people who know nothing about it, they have the strongest opinions. So when this Lebanese Muslim girl asked me about my opinion regarding the Palestinians, I realized that this was going to be a pretty tricky conversation. So what I said to her was that I don't think it's a good idea to really talk about it at a party. We're just having a good time. If she wants to stay in touch with me, we can have a conversation by email, on Facebook, stuff like that. But she was insistent. She insisted that she really wanted to know, and she's just never really spoken to anyone about this from the other side, so to speak. So I said, okay, well, let's just get a sense of what our common points of reference are. And I quizzed her a bit about Lebanese history, Middle Eastern history, the history of Islam, history of Israel. And what I realized is that, not surprisingly, her head is completely filled with years and years of propaganda on the one hand, and she has absolutely no knowledge of the history of even her own country, Lebanon, on the other. And so I explained this and that, and she kept on jumping into soliloquies about the plight of the Palestinians and genocide and all this sort of stuff. And at first I tried to just nail down a couple of definitions. What's genocide? What's what's war? What's injustice? What's this? What's that? But I realized that it was futile. It's futile to talk to someone who doesn't have a grasp of the facts, because then you don't have common points of reference, and then it's just two competing narratives being basically thrown at each other without any appreciable effect other than the two interlocutors irritating each other. So eventually I said to her, look, we just can't talk about this, certainly not now. I really understand where you come from. I understand the emotional reality of coming from a war-torn country, of being scared, of having very strong feelings about this whole matter. But we just can't talk about it. If you want to stay in touch with me, you can stay in touch with me. I'll give you my email. And then I shifted the conversation. I wound that down, shifted it to other things. So I talked about the Arabic language. I think it's a rather lovely language. We looked up some stuff on YouTube, on my phone. There's a really cool Lebanese band that I like to listen to. They sing in Arabic, and they've got their style is a sort of blend of traditional Arabic and Western music. It's very, very nice. If you're interested, I'll put a link below. But I'm quite pleased because although on my channel and on my Critical G Facebook, I have no problem with arguing with people about political matters, it's there that I concentrate on those things. And what I'm trying to do as much as possible in my personal life is to avoid getting into all sorts of arguments with people about these matters. Because unless you can guarantee, unless you know for sure that you're talking to someone who operates on reason and logic, who has a firm grasp of the facts, who accepts new evidence, who accepts reason, superior argument, who's willing to revise his opinions on the basis or in light of new evidence or a superior argument, then it's not worth your while. I'm not saying don't be interested in politics. Of course be interested in politics. I'm not saying don't be interested in economics or history or any of these matters. These are all very important things. But I think for a lot of people, politics is really nothing more than an expression of their own subconscious, their own, very often their own foibles, their own weaknesses, their own anxieties. And so beyond, because an actual reasonable argument or discussion cannot be had for the most part, the only other application that I see for talking about politics with someone is to identify either in yourself or in the other person, if it's important to you, what the psychological chinks in the armor are. If someone is very, very emotional about a certain political affair, that tells you nothing about logic or reason or evidence, but it does tell you quite a bit about that person. Now, if you want to find out these sorts of things about people, talking about politics is very good. But you have to bear in mind that for the vast majority of people, if two people of different political views start to debate in any kind of social situation, then you're just going to ruin the good time that you could be having. And for my part, I'm not interested in talking to Muslims about politics because I've arrived at my conclusions after years of reading and consideration and debate and being pointed and having people point out flaws in my own arguments. And I've revised my opinions in light of the evidence that I have, and I believe that that my understanding is as correct as can be. But that doesn't mean that I'm not that you can't persuade me otherwise. I'm always willing to accept other people's arguments, but they have to address the points that I raise. If they don't address the points that I raise, then obviously they can't. They can't possibly hope to change my opinion. That's the way most people should be, but the vast majority of people are not that way. Most people have an opinion that's either been handed down to them or that they've picked up from the media, and they just keep on reinforcing that with confirmation bias and whatnot. So so what I'd like you to take away from this is that the internet, social media, YouTube, and gatherings of people who are actually quite reasonable when talking about politics, those are all great places to discuss politics. But what I would generally advise, especially if you're a libertarian, especially if you're any kind of conservative, especially if you're in any kind of academic environment and you're a libertarian or conservative, you have to understand that the vast majority of people are extremely hostile to your views. And that means that as far as philosophy and politics go, you're just not going to get along. But that doesn't mean you can't get along with people It just means that there are certain areas that you can't talk about with them. For example, I like to go swing dancing. I like different kinds of dancing. I like gymnastics and parkour. I couldn't care less what the people in those circles think politically, because I enjoy their company for other reasons. Now, if I wanted to get into a serious relationship with someone, and she was an out-and-out leftist and a feminist and all that sort of stuff, that's when talking about politics becomes important, because then what you really need to do when you start to get into a relationship with someone is get a sense of who that person is and what's important to her and what her values are. And talking about politics is a very good way to reveal that, usually very quickly, usually with strong emotions, but hey, that's not a bad thing at all. So anyway, those are a few thoughts on talking about politics in different arenas. I will certainly talk about politics on my channel more, but what I do want to try provide in my videos is food for thought, not just debating the issues themselves, but some ideas about how to make best use of the knowledge that we acquire. I'm not really a source of information per se, because the information is available. My channel is really more about commenting on things and trying to give you my perspective, for what it's worth, on how to absorb the information and make best use of it in your life. So anyway, I hope that you find this useful. Let me know what you think. Feel free to comment down below, hit me up on Facebook or Google+, check my blog, thecriticalg.blogspot.com. Link, like this video, make a video response, favorite if you really want to. Thanks for watching, and you've been listening to The Critical G.